Yeah.
then go back to.
Yeah, I'm going to go
the
back
rest
to
of
number
the
6
stuff.
and then go down.
So we do have a conference. We have a conference call with our attorney on key franchise at 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have to,
All right. So we good. All right. So we're going to get started again. We'll start on agenda item number 10. Interview and appointment to the Jefferson County Board of Zoning Appeals, one unexpired term ending January 1st, 2021. Did no one else apply for that, you said?
No one
Okay, so
applied.
that will be put on hold and re-advertised and put on a future meeting. Next, interview and appointment to Jefferson County Parks and Rec Board. Do we have any applicants or?
She's here. No, she is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, please join us, ma'am.
It's voice activated, so hopefully you just
Talk
lean
into
forward
it
and,
and it'll work automatically.
yeah.
Okay, so just please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Lene Johnson.
All right, so I'll start off with the obvious question. Why would you like to serve on the Parks and Rec Board?
I think it's an opportunity to be able to serve the community and the young children that are in the community, an opportunity to provide different activities for groups.
I'm assuming you have time to attend the board meetings, know when and where they are, or have you ever attended a board meeting?
I have not attended a board meeting with Jefferson County, and my understanding is that the board meetings are on the third Wednesday of the month at 7 o'clock, and that they're located at the Sam Michael's. That's the one.
Okay. All right.
Other questions for you?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, since we seem to be akin, you punched out at 23 years as a lieutenant colonel, punched out at 25 years as a lieutenant colonel.
All right.
Tell us something about your background. You have a summary of professional qualifications, but I understand more what people Army. What did you do for 23 years? Well, you don't have to go over the whole thing, but I
Well,
mean,
we'll kind of summarize it for
Yeah.
you and highlight the points. We'll start off with the OCS, we'll start off with the platoon leader, company commander, EEO officer, drug and alcohol officer,
what branch were you?
both the Air Force and the Army. I got out of
When
the
did
Air
you make
Force
switch?
and then I went into the Army.
Did you, after you were commissioned?
Correct.
And what branch were you in the Army?
Well, my official branch was military police, but, as an officer, they just put you in everywhere, operations, strategic planning, the general's SGS. So I carried a lot of briefcases and notes at the end of my career.
Did you retire out of Fort Detrick?
No, I did not. I retired out of the Military District of Washington.
Oh, MDW, okay.
Interesting. Yeah,
So
so
didn't want me to be specific, so I just did a little bit.
that's good. So what piqued your interest in this position on this board?
It's just about, I love activities, so I scuba dive, horseback ride, water ski, tennis, golf, you name it, I'm into sports. And so I figured that I could provide some insight as to how we could make it better and enhance whatever programs they have.
Well, I find your background very interesting. And besides focus on programs too, Parks and Recs have a lot of park space, land, but not well improved. We would like to see, some of us would like to see some different things done, but funding's always a problem. So we'd like to see bathrooms, concession stands out at Hyde Park and all that good stuff. So
There's a lot of things you can do without money. Or with limited funds, let me just rephrase that.
yeah, limited funds.
Limited funds.
No, and they've been doing a wonderful job, and I'm not criticizing the board, but it's going to take hard work and imagination to move some of these projects forward.
I currently work for the government. We have very limited funds.
You guys always say that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I get just one thing from me. Are you following any major things going on at Parks and Rec? Like, are you familiar with some of the big initiatives they're doing right now?
No, I just know that you do have a couple of parks that you claim that are under construction, but I know like one of the parks, the water park, I think it's Moulton, it's not too far from my house, and I always drive by there to go sit by the river, and I think it could use some enhancement.
Didn't they just redo some of that? There was some work going on, like the construction you're referring to. I think they redid some, I don't know, did they?
Well, they're building the amphitheater at San
one thing,
Michael's.
yeah.
And I think at Hyde Park, there's probably some small things going on. Might be very small enhancements, but I'd like to get rid of the porta potties. They have real bathrooms, but that's a big expense. So anyway, more work ahead.
Any further questions? Do you have anything else further to say, ma'am?
Well, I understand, and I don't know how much you know about, you probably do, how the boards are set up. I understand they have particular groups of people working on various projects.
Yeah, there are
They have some
subcommittees, kind of
committees?
thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't know, I mean, the position that I am applying for, what committee is that person with, or who left that slot?
I think you make that determination
Yeah.
amongst the board members to who serves on which committee at that meeting.
Yeah, I think Parks and Rec is in January, I think.
That they
Or July,
reorganize.
when they reorganize, so they'll assign, if there's a certain committee that you're interested in, you would say, I would like to serve on that committee. More than likely, you'll probably be appointed to that committee if it's an interest that you have. So in their bylaws, it's either January or July. I can't remember what Parks and Rec's bylaws specifically say. Every year, they'll elect officers and they'll assign people to committees, so. And going in, there may be a vacancy on a certain committee, but that's, you can, subject to change, so.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Other-
Can I stay for the rest of your activities?
You're more than, we represent you. You're more than stay the whole. Are there any other applicants for the open spot? She's the only one? Okay, well, I mean, I'll open nominations, and I'll move Lene Johnson be appointed to the Parks and Rec Board for one unexpired term ending January 1st, 2021.
2019.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
easy, yeah.
All right, June 30, 2019. Okay, June 30, 2019. Are there any other nominations?
I thought that was a motion.
Well, don't you open it for nominations?
Okay.
That's I nominate. And
Okay.
I'll make a
Not a
motion that,
motion, it's a nomination.
It's a nomination.
I move the nominations be closed.
All right.
second. All right, nominations are,
Took care of that problem.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, nominations are closed.
Sorry about that. I
Yeah, throw it-
understand now.
Come on,
where
Jay,
you're
you tripped me
going.
up here. Okay, so all those in favor of appointing Lene Johnson to the Parks and Rec Board for one unexpired term ending June 30th, 19, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Very
Thank you,
high.
ma'am. Enjoy. I'm not sure when the first meeting is, but Commissioner Hudson will know.
Does she have to be sworn in?
She does, yes,
Okay.
you have to be, and we'll send you information, but you have to be sworn in by the county clerk, take an oath of office, and she's not here today, but the county clerk's office is in the courthouse, and she can swear you in any day between 9 and 5 when you have time.
Okay.
Before the first meeting.
Yeah, you have to be sworn in before the first meeting.
Do you have that person's name?
Yes, her name is Jackie Shadle,
19.
Can you spell the last name?
Hadle.
Oh, okay. Great.
All right, so we'll move on. Interviews and appointments to the E911 Advisory Board. Are there any applicants?
There is one applicant. If you'll recall, this was on the agenda about a month or so ago, and we hadn't previously advertised this position out to the public. It was sort of Mr. Polzinski coming forward saying this is serve. We did advertise it through our regular process. The person who Mr. Polzinski wanted to serve applied, and I don't think that he's here today to be interviewed. But he was recommended by Jeff formerly when he came before you to request appointment to the board.
Okay, I mean, I just want to make sure we followed protocol.
We did,
So if no
yes.
one else applied,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Is
So-
this Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You're on that board, Jane, aren't you?
Yes, uh-huh.
What do you know about him?
Oh, he comes to meetings? he participates, and I think he'd be a great continuing member. We only meet quarterly, but, he definitely knows the business or the service we provide.
Well, there being no other applicants, I move that we approve the appointment of David Kimmel to the 911 Advisory Board for a term that expires, wait a minute, this September 1st.
This is his current term. He says he wants to be,
Appointed until September 1st, 2021.
2021, okay.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Let's move to number 6. Is there any other discussion on pilot agreement policy?
We just kept it on there so it doesn't expire pursuant to Robert's rules. We're going to work with Nathan. We'll have to involve the JCDA in that discussion because the mechanism by which we give tax breaks is the JCDA. And I did talk to Nick on the phone the other day to tell him that we need to do that. He's out of town. So we are working on it. Nathan will be involved too. But we're just now getting the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So, but I kept it on there just to keep you updated and so that the agenda item does not expire.
Okay, what about scheduled date and time for a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the Jefferson County Improvement Location Permit Ordinance?
So Jenny is here for that? I think that those
Oh,
are
is that going to be long?
No.
Okay,
I don't think so.
let's move to that real quick.
I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what the ILP is and why we have an amendment to it. So before there was, building code had been adopted in Jefferson County, and in accordance with state law, this improvement location permit ordinance was approved in the state. Actually, before we had subregs, it was like one of the first things that gave the county the authority to review the location of structures originally, and now it serves as the permit to apply for your building permit. During the comprehensive plan update, and then most recently we had an amendment to the zoning ordinance that was related to historic sources, the Historic Landmarks Commission is following up on one of the recommendations to provide for a delay of demolition if a property is a historic structure, to give them a chance to take photographs, measure, document, or maybe even have somebody try to salvage something. So this, there's really sort of 3 parts to what's in here in this amendment, and Roger wanted me to make it clear to you that in the end, you can separate out some of the proposals. There's a whole section that's related to the demolition of historic structures that is written with the assistance of the Historic Landmarks Commission and their recommendation on if something comes in for a demolition permit, how they're notified and how long of a delay occurs. So that's one section of this. The second is we made some amendments to the subdivision regulations about, we incorporated the site plan criteria that were also in the ILP regulations, and we've made amendments to that since then. So these are no longer valid. That's the bottom of page 11 and page 12. So our recommendation for that section is that we just refer to the subdivision regulations related to the site plans, because that's where all the details related to that occur. And then the third thing was just some reorganization to make the document a little bit more readable, and a couple definitions that had been changed in the zoning ordinance. We made these definitions match those definitions, so there wasn't a conflict between our 2 ordinances. So this request, this is not something that had to go to the Planning Commission. It wasn't approved by Planning Commission. It was something County Commission adopted back in 1975, I think, originally, and it's been amended a few times. So it's a public hearing that's held by the County Commission. It's your ordinance. And I don't know what the notification requirements are. Stephanie might know. But what the notification requirements for a public hearing that's not part of the Planning Commission process. You have any thoughts? So
I do.
yeah.
And I think we should follow the Planning Commission process because under 8A, it should be in the planning ordinance.
Oh, ILP should be part of the
Yeah,
planning ordinance?
I
Okay.
believe so. I mean, that's-
Okay, so the
I
Planning
haven't-
Commission did not hold a public hearing on this because
Okay.
And we can, if that's your recommendation, that we refer it back to the planning commission?
I have some issues with how it's structured right now, and I think that might be a wise course of action.
Okay.
To have it originate.
Refer it back to the planning commission?
I just think there may be some issues that need to be addressed as to where the ordinance is located and what authority that it's purported to advance on behalf of some of the issues in the ordinance. So, quite frankly, I just think we need to review it again. And
Okay,
that would be my recommendation.
okay. Never mind.
All right, so,
No, why don't you
action
take the motion to
required.
refer
We
it back
just
to the planning commission?
Administratively refer it back.
Okay.
we don't need a motion, we do need a motion.
Do they need a motion to refer it back to the
No.
planning commission?
Oh, all right,
Okay,
so it's just going back to,
staff.
yeah, all right,
Going back.
back to the planning
Well,
commission.
Thank
All right,
you
thanks. Is
for,
there any, sorry, Jane, do you have something? No. Oh, okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move to Nathan, number 11, because you said 2 o'clock, we have that thing. Okay, so is there anything on number 11 that can be divulged to the public right now prior to executive session?
With regard to the PSD issue, there is a briefing schedule, and a brief is due, I believe, Monday. Our counsel that we have hired is handling that issue, and I believe that the brief will be timely filed. With regard to 17C282 is the Charlestown annexation, and there's not been further events associated with that. With regard to the county cable franchise agreement, I would just state that we are working with counsel that we have hired, who are counsel who deal with this sort of thing all the time, and they are reviewing the contract, reviewing the expenditures, contract, reviewing Comcast's, I guess, their actions related to the contract. And at this point, I don't think that because of it being a contract negotiation, I believe that matters in that would be best reserved for executive session, since we are going to receive advice from our legal counsel on that issue. And he is going to be available anytime, so.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to, all right, so I'll move, we go into executive session to seek legal advice for agenda items outlined on number 11.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're in executive session.